Around 500 years before the Common Era in the East, in the region of Nepal, a prince from childhood to adulthood lived in opulence and silk. He left his kingdom, abandoning his wife and child, cutting off his hair, and exchanging his luxurious attire for the simple clothing of a wanderer, embarking on a journey to find his own path to enlightenment. About 300 years before the Common Era in Greece, a merchant lost all his wealth in a massive storm at sea. Left with empty hands, the merchant sat down and reflected on the losses in his life. From that point onward, he sought his own path to true happiness. These events marked the beginning of Buddhism in the East and Stoicism in the West, two of the most renowned philosophical traditions in the world, enduring for over 2,000 years in the modern era. When examining how both operate, significant differences become apparent. However, from the perspective of life transformation to become a more serene and wise individual amidst life's storms, the teachings of Buddha and Stoic philosophers are both invaluable. Exploring the teachings of both traditions reveals many commonalities in the two stories, bridging the gap of thousands of miles and hundreds of years. Does the saying "the Stoic is a Western Buddhist" capture all these similarities? Buddhism is a religion founded by Buddha Shakyamuni, who was a prince protected by the kingdom from birth until the moment of his renunciation. During an excursion beyond the palace walls, a place he had never set foot in, the prince was shocked by witnessing the suffering of the people. Consequently, the Buddha abandoned his luxurious life to embark on a path of meditation and self-discovery. He concluded that all suffering originates from human desires, considering everything in life as transient. Clinging to these temporary things leads to dissatisfaction, and our desires create obstacles, influencing the outcomes of our future lives. The fundamental purpose of Buddhism is to eliminate suffering and attain nirvana, a state free from desire. What about Stoicism? It emphasizes aligning with nature and accepting everything that happens in our lives. The philosopher Epictetus advocated unconditional surrender to the natural course of events, stating, "Do not expect things to happen as you want, but rather want them to happen as they do." This is also best exemplified by the concept of amor fati, loving one's fate, prominently featured in Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. Number 1. Both emphasize ethical principles. Although originating from different cultural and historical contexts, Stoicism and Buddhism share certain philosophical and ethical focal points. Both Stoicism and Buddhism emphasize the cultivation of ethical behavior and personal development. Both sides advocate the refinement of virtues such as wisdom, compassion, self-discipline, and mindfulness as means to lead a virtuous and fulfilling life. Notably, both stress the importance of daily practice, applying learned principles directly to life to create an inner happiness, which I refer to as practical philosophy. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "The goal of philosophy is to illuminate the ways that our souls are polluted by unhealthy beliefs, disruptive desires, suspect choices, and unworthy preferences. Self-examination, when applied with kindness, is the antidote. In addition to uprooting the roots of the soul's weeds, philosophy awakens us from stagnation and propels us toward a vibrant life. To liberate the soul from suffering, we immerse ourselves in disciplined introspection, conducting thought experiments to enhance our ability to distinguish between healthy beliefs and habits and those that are harmful and lazy." Meanwhile, Buddha teaches us, to achieve good health, to bring happiness to a family, to bring peace to all, one must first have determination and mastery over one's thoughts. If a person can control their thoughts, they can find the path to enlightenment, wisdom, and virtue, which will naturally manifest within them. It is the thoughts of individuals that bring about negative karma, not enemies or adversaries. Number 2. Impermanence and transience. Both of these philosophies acknowledge the impermanence and transience of the world. Stoicism simply shows us that everything in the material world can change, while Buddhism emphasizes the concept of impermanence as one of the 3 characteristics of existence. Both philosophies encourage their disciples to develop a proper worldview, understanding and accepting the impermanent nature of life, freeing themselves from attachments, constraints, and mundane desires. All conditioned things are impermanent. All conditioned things are suffering. All phenomena are selfless. According to Buddhism, whatever is born is subject to decay. That which arises due to conditions will also cease due to conditions. Human existence inevitably undergoes the stages of birth, aging, illness, and death in accordance with the law of impermanence governing conditioned phenomena. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, recognized this impermanence and noted in his diary, "Look at the things that are happening or about to happen, quickly passing through our lives and disappearing from sight. For everything is like a continuous flow, always changing and fluctuating, with hardly anything remaining immutable." Number 3. Detachment from external circumstances. Stoicism and Buddhism share the perspective that one's inner state and happiness should not depend on external circumstances, such as wealth, social status, or material possessions. Both philosophies remind their disciples of the importance of cultivating resilience and inner calm, allowing individuals to find peace and contentment regardless of life's ups and downs. In his ethical letters, the philosopher Seneca wrote, "What is good? Only this, a clear conscience, the absence of any wrongdoing that brings us into alignment with the divine, something that can truly elevate itself above the ordinary, and not place value on anything external. You are a reasoning being. So what is good for you? It is a perfect and unblemished reason. Strive to cultivate your mind from its present state to the highest level of enlightenment and let it attain that completeness. Never believe you are happy until every happiness you have is rooted in your inner self, until after scrutinizing all external competition, desires, and possessions of others, you realize, not that there is nothing you prefer, but that there is nothing you cannot master in your heart." Now let's consider a few verses from the Buddhist scriptures, the Dhammapada, translated as follows. "Whoever in the past, future, and present has no possessions whatsoever, does not grasp anything, such a one we call a Buddha." In ancient interpretation, this means that a monk who, in the past, present, and future, lives without material wealth, always exercises control over desires, practices frugality, and focuses on mindfulness, using wisdom for enlightenment as a guiding principle. According to tradition, monks wore only 3 sets of robes, ate from a single bowl, and possessed only 3 possessions. In this way, the soul became as pure as white snow, vast and free like emptiness. Those who achieved these virtues were considered followers of the Buddhist path, the path of the Buddha. Number 4. Mindfulness and awareness. Both Stoics and followers of Buddhism emphasize the cultivation of mindfulness and awareness as a means to understand oneself and experience the world more deeply. Stoicism encourages individuals to be present in the moment, observe their thoughts and emotions, and make reasoned judgments. Similarly, Buddhism places great importance on practicing mindfulness, sati, and meditation to develop clear awareness and non-judgmental attention to the present moment. Embracing this idea, Marcus Aurelius wrote awakening lines in his Meditations. "Perfection of character is this: to live each day as if it were your last, without rushing, without apathy, without pretense." Similarly, a Zen master once advised us, "Drink your tea slowly and reverently, as if it is the axis on which the world revolves, slowly, evenly, without rushing, and with a focus on the future." Number 5. Acknowledging and accepting suffering. Both philosophies acknowledge the presence of suffering in human life and provide guidance on how to overcome it. Stoicism teaches that suffering and adversity are inherent parts of life, and each individual should accept and endure them with courage and resilience. Marcus Aurelius contemplated on suffering in this way. "This is a principle to remember in the future. When something bitter makes you feel resentful, don't say, 'This is misfortune,' but say, 'To bear this worthily is good fortune.'" The 4 Noble Truths of Buddhism define suffering as a fundamental aspect of existence. The first truth regarding the nature of suffering is expressed as follows: birth is suffering, aging is suffering, sickness is suffering, death is suffering, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are suffering. Not to obtain what one desires is suffering. In summary, all things related to the 5 aggregates are suffering. While humans are often dominated by the pain of life, they fail to seek an understanding of their suffering. Fundamentally, human nature is impermanent and selfless, yet individuals believe in a self. This self, formed by both material and mental factors, known as the 5 aggregates, is essentially a conglomerate, a collection of various elements and karmic conditions. However, humans seek its permanence and desire an eternal self, leading to ignorance and a lack of insight. Thus, Buddhism provides the Eightfold Path as a way to alleviate suffering, cultivating wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline as follows. Only the Eightfold Path, right view, correct understanding or discernment, right intention, right thought, right speech, correct speech, right action, right conduct, right livelihood based on ethical principles, right effort, right endeavor, right mindfulness, proper attention, and right concentration, meditation or focused thinking, are the path followed by those who are awake ahead of time. Number 6. Living in harmony with nature. Recognizing the impermanence of life where everything undergoes change, followers of Buddhism highlight the concept of awakening. This realization brings tranquility, enabling individuals to let go and focus on living each moment peacefully. Stoics share a similar perspective, acknowledging that death and the return of everything to dust are the ultimate destination of human life. Despite facing the fleeting nature of life daily, desires, comparisons, and possessions often cloud our minds. Epictetus advised his students, "People are the same. If you kiss your child or brother or friend, remind yourself that you are loving a mortal, and these individuals are not your possessions. They are with you for a certain time, not forever, just like a fig or a bunch of grapes that only appears in a specific season. If you desire to have it when the winter comes, you are foolish. So if you wish to meet your son or friends, even if you know it is impossible, realize that you are eagerly awaiting a fig to appear in winter." Seneca, in a letter to his friend, reflected, "Our confusion arises from being fixated on the body and not seeing beyond that scope. We can much more courageously accept our own death or the death of loved ones if we recognize that living and dying, like everything else, comes and goes in order. They unite and then separate and then unite, and the skilled hand of the gods continues to control and execute this process." Both the Buddha's teachings and Stoicism remind us of the unpleasant aspects of existence, the ever-changing and impermanent nature of human life. All things, all events are transient, and long-lasting contentment is something we cannot attain. Impermanence, suffering, and uncontrollability may or may not be absolute truths of the universe, but they certainly capture our experience of the world. Focusing on this in different ways, both philosophies anchor us with exercises tailored to their respective streams, applying them to current and future life. By practicing these teachings whenever possible, we gain insight into a more beautiful life, a more peaceful existence, and a gentler perspective on life whenever the waves of fate come crashing. The commonalities between these two philosophies help our modern selves, dwellers in a skeptical world, to see our own lighthouse in the storm. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Plunge yourself into the beauty of life. Look at the stars and move with them." Through this video, we've explored the similarities between Buddhism and Stoicism. If you found the shared content helpful, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button to continue supporting us on future journeys. Thank you for watching our video, and we look forward to seeing you in the next ones.